Welcome to this episode of Level with Emily Reese, featuring a conversation with composer Zach Tiessen about music he wrote for a project called Vanitas and Viriditas. Those two words, by the way, I managed to mispronounce a few times here and there throughout the episode, so please forgive that right off the bat. The project is a collaborative one between Zach, the composer, and his fine artist brother named Josh Tiessen. Josh created a series of paintings, and Zach wrote music to accompany them as they're shown in galleries, but also as a book and CD project, so you can see the art while you're listening to the music on your own, so you don't have to fly to New York or Toronto or wherever it may be showing at time of publication here. I absolutely do recommend looking up Josh's work online so you get a feel for the visual side while you hear Zach's music. Of course, we don't put music in this episode. You have to listen to the audio version for that for copyright reasons. And the music is fantastic. It's beautiful. Great live musicians. Singer Julie Elvin. She's worked with Zach before, and she's back to work on this project, or sing on this project. Absolutely beautiful. The Budapest Scoring Orchestra, and they always just exceed expectations. They play so beautifully. And there are other live performances, too, that are fabulous. Now, we had Zach on a couple years ago to talk about music he wrote for a StarCraft mod called UED First Light. And if you didn't catch that conversation, I recommend it. It's level 187, so be sure to catch up on that. Join us on Discord. That link is in the show notes. Be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And again, if you want to hear the music in this conversation woven in like we normally do, that's on the audio version. And you can find that at levelwithemily.com. All right, here is Zach Tiessen talking about his music for Vanitas and Viriditas.
Basically, my first ever soundtrack that I did coming out of UCLA was Streams in the Wasteland, which was with my fine artist brother, Josh Tiessen. So he had this body of work that was done actually during the pandemic, and had the idea for me to basically score each painting in the series as like kind of its own like mini movie soundtrack. So I did that for 17
had that
paintings. Idea. Yeah, he said like that'd be really cool to do a book and CD project. So he releases like art monograph books of his art, and he thought it would be neat to collaborate. So it was all like crowdfunded, and people got really behind this idea. Unfortunately, it was the pandemic, so it wasn't able to be like presented in a, public viewing matter.
Yeah.
But then when it came to the second project together, Vanitas and Viriditas, we were actually able to kind of do what we set out to do the first time, which was going to be presenting both the art and music together. So in New York, it was debuted at Ray's, at the art gallery, which is like really top tier. And then the music was accompaniment with my guitar, and also like the background soundtrack stuff going on. So that's been really great to like see the reception, because it's a bit of a different approach to like other projects, whether it's like film or even video games, where it's like definitely immersive, and it has to be able to be like enjoyed in a art, public viewing exhibit experience as an immersive experience, like kind of inspired by like the Van Gogh immersive, if you've ever been to something like that. So being inspired by that, and then also like as a readable book, like my brother also writes stories with his artwork, so I have to have like the music be, for lack of a better term, listenable. So I try to, take that into consideration. So with the previous book and CD, Streams in the Wasteland, basically how we did it is we have the audio track with the painting, and then like people can play that song and like read the story, view the artwork, and it's a kind of a full experience. So the same thing's going to happen with this project as well when the book and CD come out in the fall. So the CD's out, but the book and CD together will be out later this year. So
so has it opened? It's opened then. So at the opening, did you perform at the opening then?
I did. I did perform. So initially, like cool. I had about half the songs done, and some were in like a demo state in New York, like I guess almost a year ago now. That was back in April of 2023. So I did that as kind of a feeler, and was like, what do people react to with music,
Oh,
and
cool.
how are they like responding? And it was interesting, like certain pieces you think, oh, people might enjoy this one, but it's like other pieces that they enjoy. So I think for the opening, it was Memento Mori. I got a lot of people saying, "Oh, what was that song?" And so I was explaining, the process behind that to them. And I'm always inspired by the stories initially, like
Yeah.
with Josh's art too, because like it's a visual, and I approach it like a film score or a video game score visually, but then he has the written stories that really dive into the character depth, and so there was a lot of that. So it was New York that it was initially shown, and then now just tomorrow actually it's opening in Toronto, and that goes
Oh,
until April
wow.
10th, I believe. So
That's
when this is out,
exciting.
it'll probably still be up. If you're in Toronto, you can check that
That
out
is
at
so cool.
yeah, U of T actually, University of Toronto. So
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Oh, that's so cool. I mean, when you watch even just the 2.5 or so minute preview,
Mhm.
and he does just a little get into the fact that there are characters and like people and meaning, and he talks about Viriditas being a still life technique or some
Yeah,
very
yeah,
like it's the kind of thing where you look at the painting and there is so much meaning there,
yeah,
and that must be just so valuable to have to write
yeah.
music to.
Oh, yeah, it's very inspiring. Like what he gave me actually for this time around was even more intentional than our first project. He had been listening to playlists actually as he was painting these different paintings, and he had a two characters in this series, Sophia and Colette. So Sophia is basically the personification of Lady Wisdom in the Book of Proverbs, and very connected with like nature, and very wise and peaceful kind of demeanor. Whereas Colette, the other figure, is very brooding and moody and a bit nihilistic, but comes from the Hebrew word for teacher, and from Ecclesiastes, the Jewish book. So there were those two things to consider with the mood of each character, to go along with the visuals. So he had two Spotify playlists that he made with a bunch of inspo, and he would paint to the Sophia soundtrack, like for like kind of as almost like a temp track. And then when he was finished with those, he said, "Zach, can you listen to the playlist? I want kind of maybe you to do some similar music." So it was kind of like almost like a director, a composer
Yeah.
relationship that way. So I really had to get intentional, like with the different like moods and even scales. I kind of went overboard in like being so obsessed to go to the point of like basically Sophia can only live in C major, and all like the
Okay.
very harmonious sounds, just white keys on a piano, whereas like Colette is in like C harmonic minor, which
Okay.
obviously incorporates some more black notes. So like kind of meta stuff like that, that
Yeah.
maybe, it's some intention that's put behind the music that brings out, these characters even more. So, and even instrumentation, we can get into that. But yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
from the inception what it looked like.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, I mean, let's talk about some of the I know that the Sophia theme was a collaboration, right? Can you talk about
Hmm.
so first of all, Sophia being the more again C major, peaceful, loving kind of nature lover,
Hmm.
etc. So
Yeah.
talk about that theme then.
Yeah. So like that's very not me. If you've heard my music, it's not like very happy, cheery, like harmonious. It's more a little bit kind of goes into the weeds, so to speak, harmonically. But with
Yeah.
this, it's like very soothing. So I reached out to a fellow composer that I know who's really great on like piano led stuff, Brock Hewitt. And we all met together, my brother and I and him one night, and he came up with the theme on the spot. And we're
Oh
like,
wow.
that's it. Like that's the theme that sounds very like wise and peaceful sounding. So from there, that was like sprinkled through like Sophia and this birch grove, and the Cairo stones. And the other element to that was okay, like Josh was listening to like Enya tracks and some very, you know, ethereal kind of Celtic stuff. And the first person that came to mind, obviously, was Julie Alvin again, who I'd worked with previously on that StarCraft mod soundtrack. So she was like the perfect voice for this character to kind of bring out, and she also loves nature too. So she was like really excited to lean into that element again. So. So that's how Sophia came about. And then Cola was a bit trickier because it was very kind of unresolved and a little bit like murky tonally with the instrument selection and sound design. So that originated on guitar. So I kind of was like, I'll stick to the Colette stuff and Brock kind of brought in some melodies for the Sophia related songs. So yeah, it was really great collaboration. All of them.
Yeah, super neat. She sounds amazing. The violin player you worked with sounds amazing. The orchestra you worked with sounds amazing. We'll talk about all of that stuff. But you also learned some new instruments yourself, right? Talk about that.
So I got another custom guitar. I showed you last time, Rick Kant, and he built me guitars, but I got this new one. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of
you
below
gotta
there.
show us. You showed us last time.
It's okay. Here, I'll unplug a sec.
Okay, you gotta show it. Oh, wow. Jeez.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So so this is the basics that Rick Canton built me.
It is a bass, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's kind of a bass, kind of not a bass. So it's basically the easiest way to explain it is it's 6 strings, like a guitar, just an octave down.
Dude, so I literally I can't remember, but one of the most recent episodes that I it was Eric Desiderio for Last Epoch. He used a bass 6, and he said, and I didn't know, and he explained it just like you did, which of course, but he also said the Beatles used to use it to write songs and stuff. So yeah, that's so cool. I love how this is like a thing now, and now we're getting to see it.
Yeah, it seems to be a more popular instrument. I mean, I heard initially about it through The Last of Us. So Gustavo Santaolalla, he used it on that famously. And so that's what kind of brought it more into the forefront for people wanting to use that. So I'm using it usually tenths, so like an octave and then plus a third minor or major, and then so that's kind of a nice voicing that works on that guitar. So Colette was written on that. Cool. I got sent that almost a year ago. So I was kind of learning it and then writing on it. So I kind of dedicated to learning that. And then also for Sophia, I felt like, again, it was like very fantasy sounding. So initially I was writing some harp sketches and I thought, oh, you know what? I should try to get my hands on a harp and learn harp. So I rented one for a few months and it was really surprising how quickly I picked it up because it's kind of somewhere in between a piano and a guitar, like finger picking technique. But I really embarrassed myself when I posted the first day of playing it. And then I go the next day and I'm like, how come everyone on YouTube is holding it backwards? They're holding it wrong. And I realized I was playing it backwards. But it makes a lot of sense why, because I was like, oh, you go up like this on a piano or you go up like this on a guitar, but it's reversed. So the soundboard is against your body, not facing.
That's awesome.
I was just too excited.
Why is everyone playing it backwards? No one
noticed. But I was very diligent to then start. It took a while then to learn it the right way, and then I eventually posted the videos with me playing it right when the songs were out. But
that's amazing. There are people who play guitar, right? Like Kurt Cobain, and many examples of people playing. They just flip the guitar over, and it looks like they're doing it backwards, right? You know, but
Jimi Hendrix,
yeah, right.
That was
cool.
a big element of that. And then the other element with Sophia that I really wanted to try out were some interesting percussion instruments, and I leaned on a guy in Italy that I know well, Luca Giacobbe. He plays in a like a weird, like crazy avant-garde percussion ensemble there, and he just does some crazy sound design sounds, and he has a lot of access to different instruments. So I asked him to get plate bells, which are a little bit less known instrument. They're similar like to tubular bells, obviously, but they have a little bit of a different harmonic ring to them. They're again softer with a soft mallet. It's really nice. It has just a kind of a nice attack similar to vibraphone. He also played vibraphone on a few tracks as well.
Oh, cool. Love
So
that.
yeah, I then would kind of resample some of the parts and pitch them up, make them into contact instruments. That's another element I did a lot of this time around for the soundtrack, was to build a lot of custom sounds. So that was one of the more prominent features of the soundtrack. Yeah.
Love that. Cool. And then what made you bring in the hymn, the All Creatures of Our God and King, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
So,
I sang that 1,000 million times when I was a young kid. So it's such a beautiful, beautiful melody.
So the song All Creatures of Our God and King is like a traditional hymn that has really resonated with me, but also was incorporated into this painting series again through my brother's paintings. And there's actually a song called All Creatures Praise. So that's the song that's, states that melody on this soundtrack. But then through Josh's stories, it kind of reflects some of the decay and restoration through nature, through Sophia. So there's a bit of a storyline. So right away I thought, okay, it would be interesting to kind of have that as an alternate theme. Like there's obviously the Sophia theme. I did also incorporate on the first soundtrack that I did with Josh another hymn, which is It Is Well. So it was just kind of like this thing that we had going on to, include on that soundtrack, like a little hymn theme. So there's something very kind of almost nostalgic and familiar about incorporating that. So that's a real kind of value with his projects that I have to do that. So it's interesting. The other Easter egg with that melody, it's very easy to kind of transform over different harmonic backgrounds. So that's another thing I do look for if I am going to incorporate, original theme or like a hymn theme, is to be able to have something moldable. So with that one, I was actually able to even fit it on Auguries of Innocence. If you listen to that song. So I worked with the local trio on that quintessence ensemble, and the very high melody that comes in over that progression, it's in A minor, but it works because it's in C major. It's played, I think, like a quarter speed, but it's like in a super high part. So if you go back and listen to that, you'll be able to hear it. But like, it's subconscious that these things can be fit in. And even in this Birch Grove, like Julie kind of starts on it, molds into something else. And Joni, the solo violinist on that one, she's doing improv and then joints and doubling that. So different parts you can kind of interweave and weave out of works well for like motif stuff like that.
Yeah. No, it was really lovely too how you would intertwine the melodies, and you do that with both main themes too at the end, right? So talk about that.
That was a wild coincidence, I have to admit. I try not to take too much credit when stuff like that happens, where it's just like, wow, that I'm very thankful for the ideas I had. That was very quite blessed, like I can honestly say, because I was cramming to record with Budapest the next month, so I had to get it done. And I always work well under deadlines like that. And so with Cola and Sophia, the overarching theme that I mentioned previously was that it's like C minor, C major. How can I have those exist in the same song? That's a little bit tricky. So that's where it took some working with the initial harmony kind of being more of a romantic influenced style. So there's a lot of classical influence on this album. So there's definitely harmonically a little bit of influence there on that song for sure. So I'm able to kind of use chromatic mediants to slip into C minor and slip back into C major. And
Yeah.
so that allowed me to incorporate both themes kind of very seamlessly. So even in the middle bridge section, I'm playing the Colette theme over the Auguries of Innocence theme on the violas. So like those are interacting. Again, happy accident, just like one of those late nights that just happened like that. So I was really happy. And then even the final statement with Sophia theme being stated, and then kind of a call and response to when it goes to C minor. That's actually the motif of All Creatures praise, but in minor key. So it's like all these subtle things interacting. And even in the end, on the outro, it's like the Auguries of Innocence theme in A minor, and then like the All Creatures praise theme on the harp in C major. So yeah, all of these different variations in the final
Wow.
song. So I was really, really excited that that kind of all came together. It was
Yeah.
different for me to do that because like last time I was on, you even pointed out like the Supernova theme for that soundtrack I did for the video game. It was written first. And
Yes.
then I sprinkled in all the themes after. This was the opposite. I tried really focusing on just the character themes and then putting them together, which
Oh,
turned out
cool.
to be a little bit trickier, but definitely rewarding for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
But, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So yeah, well, I want to talk about the orchestra, but I also am very
Mhm,
curious to know when you go into the gallery, pardon me,
mhm.
when you go into the gallery, just depending on how the paintings are displayed, is the music like how is the music playing in there? Is it just on
Yeah,
a loop for the duration kind
yeah,
of thing?
yeah.
Okay.
We
Okay.
play the soundtrack from start to finish. An idea I initially thought with the gallery, and this might like in New York where it was initially showed, that for next time maybe doing like some sort of installation with either headphones or like even like the Van Gogh immersive, like it had the paintings like displayed on projectors, and so like that's a future vision. So it like every next project we're kind of stepping it up gradually. So we'll see for next time. But yeah, same thing for Toronto. It's being shown like kind of
Oh,
front to
cool.
back with paintings there. So, but it
Okay.
is interesting with the book and CD. You can then dive into more like individual tracks. So it is more curated that way. So if you
Very
want it just
cool.
one at a time. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love
yeah,
that. Yeah, and I can't wait for the book too to see
yeah,
that all put together.
yeah.
That would be really cool. So yeah, so tell me all about working with the orchestra. I assume you didn't fly there. Maybe you did, but tell us how that went.
Yeah, I actually did fly
You did. That's
to
so cool.
Budapest. Yes, and I leaned into the whole experience. It was a bummer during the pandemic. I couldn't take any conducting classes at UCLA, so it was just all online.
Oh,
So I actually had never gotten to record in person until
oh wow.
locally. My first session with the string players was with Quintessence Ensemble and conducting them, and also from the production side too. It was my first experience just mixing live strings for Auguries of Innocence and Sophia. So like no samples, nothing. So it was like really, really interesting that way. But when I came to Budapest, I was wanting to do like a few songs for like the ending songs of this album. And I'm like, okay, I should just fly there and get the whole
Wow.
experience and even take
That's
a
so
crack at
cool.
conducting, which was very nerve-wracking.
I
I think I
believe it.
do
Yep.
like being in the control booth more, but it was really a thrill of a lifetime. And I definitely work with them again. They're so polite and courteous and very receptive to like if I wanted to tweak things dynamically or, on the intro of Vanitas Viriditas, I was kind of wanting it a little bit more motion rather than, just straight pads. So it definitely helps being in person
Oh
to
yeah.
kind of make those
Yeah.
calls. And I also was able to record additional songs for another project that hasn't come out yet, but
Oh,
that will come
cool.
out later this year.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I got 6 songs done in an hour session. So
Wow.
I had to be really prepared with all the orchestration
Yes.
parts. I did all that myself again, and I
Oh,
really wanted
wow.
to get into the depths of all the fine tuning for
Yeah.
each section. And I think there was some learning that happened that like I'd go, oh, okay, maybe I'd move that to violins too next time instead of the violas or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatnot. But for first time, I was like really pleased though with
Yeah.
the
That's
outcome to be able
amazing.
to do that. So
They're so
and yeah,
talented too, right? I mean, they
it's
just do whatever you tell
incredible.
them. It's, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
They're
it's
so
incredible
beautiful.
that
Yeah.
they just sight read on the spot and they're ready to go. And we got like 3 or 4 takes each song. So there are certain ones that like were a bit trickier with the arpeggios and stuff. But we ended with Vanitas and Viriditas, and they really liked that one because it's
Oh,
just a fun
cool.
song to play. Very
Yeah.
repetitive on the notes and
Yeah.
kind of uplifting to
Oh,
finish the
yeah. It's
day.
all
So
so, so
yeah,
beautiful. If I didn't say that
yeah.
already, it is just such
Thank you.
gorgeous music, you know? It's
Yeah.
very lush and beautiful.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was really, really excited how they turned out. And yeah, I'm excited to keep working with them and future projects. So
Oh, I
yeah,
can't wait
yeah,
to
it
hear
has
more
been
about
great.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long were you there? What was the city? Did you get to hang out
Mm.
and see some things? Like, what did you do?
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. So my brother, who I mentioned, actually is showing this next series at U of T, University of Toronto. He was there in Italy taking a school course. So I met up with him.
Oh, wow.
And then I went to Budapest and we had some fun sightseeing. So we just enjoyed the week there and it's a beautiful
Nice.
city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just loved it. It was also I liked it because it was like the coolest of all the European countries we've been to. It just felt like, Canada in the summer. So a bit biased.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I've never been, and I think that would be a wonderful
Yeah.
place to go.
Yeah.
So what else are you working on that you can
Mhm.
talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 4 extra songs that I did, I've kind of slowly teased this is it's an original EP.
Oh,
Um
cool.
and it's just totally kind of a different sound than the Vanitas Viriditas. It's a lot of guitar, ambient stuff. Um and it's yeah, I'll say that much. And the other thing that I've
Nice.
gotten into lately is actually producing in Atmos. So I have an artist I work
Oh,
with in Netherlands, Juriv. He's on YouTube and Spotify. He's pretty big. So I just finished a album producing for him. But with that, learning that for his album, I wanting to do that for my next project here. So it's been really fun to compose in Atmos, but then also check like I have my surrounds there, and then I
yeah.
can check my sides through my headphones, but I make sure it's all like stereo compatible ultimately because most
Nice.
people get it in stereo. So
Yeah.
Apple and Tidal have the Atmos options, and I've also been doing some score mixing. So that's
Oh,
also
wow.
informed my producing,
Of
more than
course.
stereo as well. So I did one movie that was shown at the Tokyo International Film Festival. So
Oh, wow. Neat.
yeah, it's just been fun to be learning that side of things, and
Yeah.
it's developing still, and even in games like with the 3D audio that Sony has. Is
Yeah.
still expanding with the approach to that. So kind of getting a leg up on that sort of thing
Yep.
is kind of what I'm up to now. The other thing that I really learned the past year was just, like I mentioned, a lot of contact scripting. So maybe not the
Yeah.
most fun thing to do, but it's really helpful to know if you want to create your own sounds. So whether
Yeah.
it's like resampling like some of Luca's percussion on a B&B that I did, or another, like I have this instrument here that I show a lot on my IG is it's a Yamaha VSS 30 sampler, and it's like this cheap toy
It's
instrument
amazing.
that now is like vintage, but
Yep.
it's
Yep.
8-bit, so it's a bit lo-fi, but bands like Sigur Rós have used it for
Mm.
like resampling and looping and stuff. So if I want to take something and make it a bit more hazy or pad like, I'll run it through there. So it's
Yeah.
been a lot of year of experimenting sounds and that's kind of where I'm at creatively. It's kind of got me out of just, working with, pre-made samples and stuff.
Yeah.
And incorporating that is fun. So yeah, I have that going on, and then I have some neat opportunities. I'm meeting with some people at GDC
Oh, cool.
next month. So I've never been, and
Exciting.
so that'll be my
Oh,
first time. So
oh,
I'm
it's a
looking
good
forward
one.
to that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, there's a few different companies licensing and also indie
Yeah.
game devs that'll be meeting. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. Amazing. I love the hunger to just try all the things and learn all the things because
yeah,
whether you continue doing all the things or you land on one or two of them, it's all going to inform in the
yeah,
end.
yeah,
That's
for
really
sure.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, and there's like so far that one person can go. So like in terms of like the scripting and the whys, I have decided not to touch that part of things. So like I have
Yeah.
gotten asked to do that for recent projects, and I
Well,
just
didn't you do some of that for the StarCraft mod though? You did some
I didn't
implementing. Oh, I
I
thought you
didn't do
did for some
implementation.
reason.
So yeah,
Oh,
so I'm now looking and connecting with people for the sound design outsourcing side of things to be
oh,
able
okay.
to like continue just honing in on the
Yeah.
music side of things. So it is
Yeah.
a balance that way of how much one
Yeah.
person can
Right.
know, and like you don't want to
Right.
overextend
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're
yeah.
good at. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I wanted to ask though about the bass six. What made you request a custom? Like what drew you to ask for that? Yeah.
Yeah. So Rick Canton, he's been really nice. Like I actually co-designed the H string with him,
Yeah.
like the model that I have. So like as a thank you, he like builds me free instruments. So
Oh my
he
God.
was like, he's always, what's the next one? Like once something
Yeah.
is built. So I said, oh, like I have been looking at base sixes, but like they're crazy expensive. Like the
Oh
authentic
wow.
ones are like 4K.
Wow.
And I was like, would it be possible to do basics? I know you don't make them really, but he
Yeah.
said, oh, like let's rework a baritone model. So that's what this one is. I think it's like
Okay.
28.5 inches. So it has plenty of stability like a bass. And so that's how that came
Okay.
about. It was like it's technically a baritone mod to a bass six.
Oh,
And so
interesting.
that's how we
Okay.
worked that one out. So there's another guitar coming soon. Another one that
Nice.
I did. It's an H string, so it's a little bit different wood and all that. So yeah, we're always working together, and
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah, it's a good
And I remember
collaboration.
you talking about him in the last conversations we had, but is
Mhm.
he local to Toronto or where does he live?
He's from New Mexico, just
Oh, wow.
outside
Okay.
Albuquerque.
Have
Yeah,
you
yeah,
been there? Have you met him in person?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, of
yeah,
course you would have,
yeah.
I bet, when you collaborated on your eight string, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we zoomed a bunch, and then finally I have relatives down in Colorado, so we
Oh,
made a
nice.
detour to
Okay.
be able to meet up with him
Oh,
in New
nice.
Mexico. So yeah, yeah, it was really great. Very sweet guy, really nice guy. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
yeah,
Well, I mean, what more do you want to say about uh,
yeah,
the project with your brother Vanitas and Veritas?
yeah.
Veritas? I'm
So
not sure. Yeah.
yeah, so it's out now on streaming. So you can stream it YouTube, Spotify. I also
Hmm.
have the this physical CD, so I'll send one to
Awesome.
you
Thank you. That's very
tomorrow
sweet. Thank you.
morning, and then the book and CD pre-order by the time this is up will be live on my brother's website. So you
Oh,
can get
cool.
both the CD and book together at joshtiessen.com. So
JoshTeason.com.
yeah, and that comes with all the paintings, and then the stories and kind of the back story synopsis as well on the intro side of things. So yeah, you can kind of get the full experience and meaning of like kind of the project.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
With all of these musical projects, what are there things that you do when you're not musicking?
Yeah.
What other
Well,
hobbies do you have?
actually, yeah, it's a lot of, I forgot to mention, a lot of these sounds too were re-samples of nature field recordings that I'd taken.
Oh,
So
cool.
when I'm
Okay.
not doing music, I'm hiking or out in nature, bird walks with my brother. A
Oh,
year and
cool.
a half ago, we were up at a beautiful place in Ontario called Tobermory, and it has these natural grotto caves. So
cool.
I actually went into the caves and did a bunch of like percussion sounds like with rocks. So like instead of the snare on these songs, I used a rock sample and also like a thud on my acoustic guitar. So the percussion was all like natural sounds from nature.
Oh,
So I wanted to be
cool.
very intentional that it wasn't just like standard
Yeah.
percussion sounds. The other element was for in this birch grove, I actually set out into a blizzard last winter
Oh,
to
wow.
record a bunch of snowflake sounds. And so I also got this one thud sound that was the kick in that song. And then the other really zany thing that I did is I took the snow and the wind and I was able to program that as almost like an organ sound to be like a synth. So like in
Hmm.
the bridge section, if you listen closely, the swelling sounds, that's actually pitch snow. So
Oh, wow.
it's it was like sound designed to oblivion, so it's not even recognized as
Yeah.
like, wind. But
Wow.
it's I'm basically pulling out the octaves like almost like you would as an organ, like with the
Okay.
pipe
Yep.
pipes there. So
Hmm.
yeah, I get a lot of inspiration from nature sounds lately. Like even if I'm like, oh, I know what I'm going to use this on, I still record it, like even if I don't know. And 2 years later, I go, oh yeah, what was that one sound? Like my relatives, like I'm at a family dinner 2 years ago, and it was like from a field recording. They said, "Oh yeah, I made this song out of a mosquito flying by, like per chance. It wasn't even meant to make it. Like I think I was recording like some trickling river or whatever." And I'm
Wow.
like, "There's my mosquito sense." So they know
Right.
me now as the guy who makes music with mosquitoes. It's yeah, and that's the thing. That's the beauty with all the technology we have these days. It's
Yeah.
like it doesn't have to be even like a literal intention. Like it's great to have maybe some of those things like snow with in this birch grove, like the painting has snow, obviously. But
Yeah.
more recently I've been kind of stripping myself from the initial source, like meaning wise. Like I went to a zoo with a bunch of howling monkeys
Oh,
last
wow.
summer, and that's making its way into like a horror template for a new soundtrack. So
Nice.
it's like you would never know it's howling monkeys, but because
Right.
I programmed it a certain way, it just has an emotion to it with
Wow.
the clusters and stuff. So yeah,
Hmm.
so it's a bit
Hmm.
of like either or. It just depends on
Yeah.
the situation for intention and
Yeah.
creating something new completely. So.
And do you play your guitar every day?
Ah, no, like it's
No.
like different
Yeah.
instruments. I find I'm like always
Oh,
switching,
okay. Yeah.
whether it's piano. It's actually been a lot. Like last time we talked, it was about not playing piano, but
Right. Yeah.
I've kind of ate my words gradually because a lot of times I'm actually writing on piano now. So
Yeah.
it's changed
Yeah.
a bit.
Oh,
A lot of
wow.
my
Yeah. Hmm.
initial ideas I'll sit in the morning and
Yep.
just keep creating ideas to have for to pluck from and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
kind of what my daily process looks like. Or if I do a sound design session, I just focus on creating something brand new from just a simple source or something like that.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Hmm.
depends.
And then how did you get your hands on the harp? Did you say if you did, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
Long McQuaid, like it's really great chain we have in Canada where you can rent like really top
Okay.
tier instruments. So I got
Yeah,
a
because
really
it's
nice
they're
harp.
so expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, there it was. I think the one I played was like 4,000, but I was only paying $60 a month for a couple months
Wow.
for it. So it was like no brainer just to get that,
Okay.
track it, and
Yeah.
yeah, mix it. And so yeah,
Oh,
it's
so
been
it's
great.
back. You don't have it anymore.
Yeah, I do miss it. So I'd
Yeah.
like to have them, but it depends. Like I'm not for the
Right.
stuff I'm using right now. I don't really need
Yeah.
it anymore. So, but if I needed it as a main thing, I definitely get one
That's
again.
awesome.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a lot of exploring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I love that.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Well, I really did just thoroughly enjoy the music you wrote. Really gorgeous, as
Thank
I've
you.
said, and uplifting. Word you said that works really well as well. It's just
Mm,
beautiful, beautiful
yeah,
writing. And you mentioned that your music tends to not be quite so gorgeous
yeah.
and maybe not as consonant. Was so beyond the Sophia theme. Did you struggle with that at all?
Yeah, a little bit. So like
Mm,
the process with Cole that was more like guitar based, and then
yeah.
trying to fit it into like a little bit of a different sound world, right, than Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
It since it wasn't consonant. So I wanted to create some more sound design sounds, like even I resampled some of my own vocals to kind
Mm.
of create a choir a bit. But with Sophia, it was really great what Brock had for the piano parts that he composed, that I could kind of get inspiration from that
Oh,
sort of
sure.
with the other Sophia songs, like in this Birch Grove, and kind of expand on that. So that made it like very fluid to have that as like its
Mm-hmm.
core sound and theme through that, and then kind of expanding off of it. So it really made the whole process kind of gel together nicely.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, is there anything else you want to say, Zach, before we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I will say, excuse the scruff. I don't like it. It's not
What?
my choosing, because I randomly got casted in a Guillermo del Toro film that's being
What?
filmed in Toronto in 2 weeks. So they said they're looking for clean shaven, and then I get there. It's just like an extra role. And they're like, "Oh, you have to grow out your facial hair now for a month." And I'm like, "What?"
What?
So, so I'm doing that literally, I think a few days before I leave for GDC. So that should be
That's
fun.
incredible. Have you done stuff like that before?
I have done it like way back as an early teenager. Like we did that. Like there's a homeschool co-op that did that for just like Hallmark movies.
Oh,
But this is like the
funny.
largest production I've ever done anything like
Right?
that. And I just happened to fit the profile height wise, like hair length and all that. They were looking for a lot of people that were like non-union, non-background actor types for this. So it was
Yeah.
just totally random that I'm like, oh,
Amazing.
what the heck, I'll apply, and probably not. But then I did. And then it's like, okay, I guess I'm in this now.
You
So
don't like it though?
yeah.
What don't you like? It looks great.
No, I just I can't grow that much, but we'll see. We'll see if I keep it for GDC or not. But yeah, the movie is Frankenstein.
Oh,
It's yeah,
wow.
being produced here in Toronto at the
Awesome.
Netflix studio lot. So
Oh, that is
yeah, I
so
just love,
cool.
and that's what started my love for film music, was in those teen years, like being on set. And then I kind of got
Wow.
more into film music from, those
Incredible.
experiences. So yeah, it's just fun. I always love that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's so funny. What other
Yeah.
hobbies do you have? Oh, I like to go out in nature and I'm in this Guillermo del Toro movie. Amazing.
Yeah.
That is very cool. I will definitely be watching that. That's for sure. Might be a
Yeah.
little scary for me though, because I mean, his stuff
Yeah.
can get kind of
Yeah, it is.
creepy.
It's based off of the book. So I,
Yeah.
I actually don't know too much. So I'm not like gonna
Okay.
spoil it, because I actually don't know too much. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
no.
yeah, we'll
I just
see.
okay. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
will watch it to watch for you.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. Any other tricks up your sleeve that you
No,
haven't told us?
I think that's about it. Yeah. Uh, yeah,
All right.
but my relatives, like for the horror stuff, I'm in touch with them. So they're starting a production company up here, as well.
Oh,
So I met with them in the fall. So that's
okay.
kind of what has led to more of the horror exploration. So that's where I kind of joke that,
Wow.
other than the Vanitas Viriditas, like I'm not really composing like super treat music lately, but it was kind of a nice like break actually for me to do this project. I had the
Yes.
time this last year, so it was kind of in
Yeah.
between projects to be able to do that. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love to do something like this again, like it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of more fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Fantasy kind of uplifting vibes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
How did your brother, I mean, what is it like to get a show at such a prestigious gallery? Like, how does that even
Yeah.
happen? You know?
Yeah, like he's been on a really interesting path, like getting discovered as like a prodigy, like artist, like through Huffington Post. Like he was
Oh,
in this article,
interesting.
top 10 kid artists in the world. And then
Wow.
from there, like different people discovered him, and he just kept showing different places. He won award and competition for this other New York gallery back in like 2017, which was First Dreams in the Wasteland. So that was like his first New York show. And then he showed at LA Art Show. And then that's where this Ray's Contemporary discovered him when he was showing there. So it's just one of those things. He's just kind of picked up more momentum, and it's been great. Like Miami, he's been shown in as well, and so it's really cool. I'm excited to see where he keeps going. Like maybe he'll end up in Europe sometime soon. That'd be really great. So.
Amazing, His studio is so beautiful, too. Like, which in the video, right? That where he was making all that art, that's his studio, right?
Yeah, and it's just near what we call it a mountain, but it's not really a mountain. It's technically called the Niagara Escarpment. So it's like that's where we go on hikes actually, and it looks out there. So it's a beautiful view with the sun coming in, and it's really great.
Yeah, what an inspiring place to make art. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you're both so talented. And I look forward to the next project you do with him, and then this Guillermo del Toro movie. But no, I do look forward to all your next projects. So it's just been really good to catch up and hear about this one. Yeah.
Yeah, great talking to you for sure.